I mean, I think, without going into a ton of specifics, because I didn't even go into all of them with them. Um, I'm a big believer, in the old Bill Parcells one. You are what the scoreboard says you are, and we're 12-20, and we have a lot of reasons. Some are good excuses, and some are not. But the fact of the matter is, um, we're not in rebuild mode, but we're in a reset button mode. We need to reset our culture and how we go about things, and we need to redevelop an identity. And I don't think we had an identity of being good at anything this year. Um, we weren't a good shooting team. We weren't a great defensive team. There were days we were good defensively. We weren't particularly a dominant rebounding team. We were a better rebounding team earlier in the year. And so the fact of the matter is we weren't great, no matter how you look at it. And obviously, if you put, Elena and Alicia Clark into the lineup, and you have, some of those other players available for more games, yeah, it would look different. But I can't count on just that being the answer. We have to fix some other things too. And it's a very simple fact. When you are, next to last in the league in field goal percentage, and you don't shoot as well as you normally do from the 3-point line or the free throw line, that's got to be fixed. And it's not just, a couple players. It's, we have, 5 players who played a fair amount of minutes, shoot in the mid 30s for the most part from the floor. That's not good enough. Defensively, we didn't get stops. We didn't protect the rim. We didn't, do what we're supposed to do. We're normally a low turnover team, and we were by the number of turnovers, but not to our standards. And the turnovers we had led to more points than normal. Usually if let's say you commit 13 or 14 turnovers, which is considered low in our league, but those can't be, those can be 13 or 14 points. They can't be 20. And those things catch up. We can complain all we want about the officiating, but the fact of the matter is our opponents throughout the year shot more free throws than us. And that's not acceptable. I mean, we lose a game yesterday, and I can scream and moan all I want about the officials, but the fact of the matter is, there's different officials every night. And so it's not the same one coming every time to penalize you. I've told that to several of our players. They're complaining that they're not getting good calls for them. Well, it's different. It's one thing if it's the same official making those calls on you, but when 25 different officials call the same call, then guess what? You're probably fouling people, so it's all of those things. And so we had people playing big minutes this year that wasn't the intention when we signed them. The intention was them to be role players and to, play 5, 10, 12 minutes, not to be playing 20 plus minutes as starters. That's a fact of the matter, but we have to fix that this offseason. And so it's, the coaches need to figure out, can we coach them better? Can we teach them different things? Can we improve how we practice? Practices have been tough. We didn't have practice guys, but that was the same for the whole league, the first half. So, but, we have to figure out ways to, when you're playing every other day for the stretch that we did, how do we manage that time maybe better? And it's all of those things, but talent at the end of the day, you have to have enough talent to win games. And my evaluation is through injuries and everything else, our talent wasn't good enough to win enough games. It just isn't. That's the fact of the matter. It's a very odd position because I think what we did to reset our team as far as, signing Alicia, bringing Tina here, counting on Elena to be better health-wise. You can't, we didn't have any thought that Maisha would miss over half the season or close to half the season. Yeah, it's a lot different. I mean, but I think a lot of it's fixable too. It's not, it would be different if you're coming into a situation saying, boy, the cupboard's bare, we don't have talent. We have Elena and Alicia and Natasha and Ariel Atkins and Erica McCall signed for next year. And so we have to figure the rest of it out. And we have a lot of restricted free agents and unrestricted free agents. Some will stay, some won't. There will be some other people out there in the league that we'll look at. We have a lottery pick now in the draft. The last time we went through this was the year we did the deal for Elena. We missed the playoffs. We had a lottery pick. It gave us a chip to use in a trade, and we need to use this chip that we have wisely. I don't like not being in the playoffs, but if we're not in, then we have an opportunity with the lottery pick and, some little bit of flexibility as far as, choosing how we use our cap money. We have an opportunity to fix some things. And then you still, like every other team, you're going to still knock on wood, hope you stay healthy. But we know the things that we're supposed to do, and we're going to go out and try to do them. Well, I will say this. We have a meeting scheduled. We've had one already, and I'm not revealing everything we talk about. We've had one meeting with our medical, doctors and trainers and everybody, to try to formulate a plan. We'll have another one coming forward here soon. I don't know exactly what the answer is. I do know this. Despite her not playing these last couple of weeks, she has made progress this summer. Much slower than we thought, but she has made progress. The setback is more from some nerve issues that are being pressed on that they're called radicular symptoms. You guys can all go look that up and Google it. But, for anybody that's had, those kind of issues, it's almost like referred pain in the sense. So we think, based on all the discussion we've had, that it's solvable. She is optimistic about it. Doctors are optimistic about it. But I just, we were in a position the last couple of weeks that just didn't feel comfortable putting her back in that position and having a setback that was needless. And I just think that's where we are. And as we go forward in the off season, we will update people, hopefully more regularly now that we're, able to maybe do a little bit more non-pandemic. I mean, we have all those issues still in front of us, but, we were in a little bit tougher position. But I think we have a better grasp of some of the issues that can be addressed. But I think there's a lot of optimism amongst everybody in the medical side that she will improve a lot this offseason and be a lot more prepared to play. There's no guarantees, obviously, ever with that kind of injury, but I think everybody around it feels a lot more optimistic, and most importantly, she does. I thought Eric did a terrific job, not because he's my son, but because he's an assistant coach that, has been placed in a position of doing this. He's had opportunities to go somewhere else to be a head coach, has turned it down to stay here. He's ready now. He's probably a better coach than me in some ways. We both see the game somewhat similarly, but the difference in age and the difference in how you view the game. Those are healthy discussions in our office amongst our entire staff. I've felt all along that when I'm ready to walk away from it, he's ready. I have felt that for a couple of years now. I have made no decision on a timetable for me. I'm certainly, I take every off season and take a couple months to say, okay, where are we? What do I feel like? How do we go about it? I've told some of you this has been the hardest year I've ever experienced in 50 plus years of coaching. But it's a combination of things. It's not just the injuries. It's a lot of things. The pandemic hasn't helped anybody in that regard, and how you view things and how you go about day-to-day things. This last weekend, I think only probably confirmed what I already knew, that he's ready. I think our players respect him, but I'm not sure I'm giving it to him yet either. One way or the other, this team is still going to have my imprint on it for the near future. And I don't like the idea of, walking away from something that needs to be fixed or repaired. And so, my job right now is to address immediate concerns with our team. There are longer term concerns to be dealt with, and we've got a lot of months to do it. One more month than I wanted to have, but we'll get that done. But I think he's completely ready for this, and he's done a great job. Yeah, I don't know where that stands. I mean, I think time away from the end of the season is the first part of it. For her to, get away from the emotion of losing. I mean, she came here to win a championship, and nothing she signed up for went right. She signed up to play with Elena and Alicia and Tosh and Ariel and those guys, and wasn't intending to come here and be the go-to scorer. And so all of a sudden that changed. And I think that, she probably needs some time to think about, what she wants out of her future. And, this is not even related to her necessarily, but how do we fit in our salary cap, what we need to make our team whole going forward? I mean, we have salary cap decisions to make, just like a couple other key teams do, that will impact us, not just in the short term, but in the long term. I mean, Maisha is a restricted free agent. Emma is unrestricted. Tina's unrestricted. Emma's got to deal with national team stuff again with the World Championships coming at the end of our season. So we have a lot of hard discussions to have with our players and see how it all fits together. I really don't have an answer to that yet, but part of it is, does Tina want to be here? And yeah, we'll probably have to go through that process again. But at least right now, she has an idea of what her teammates are like, the organization is like, and I'm sure she's frustrated with some of what occurred this summer. We all are. And so we'll have to figure that out over the next couple of months. But again, none of that is something we're going to do this week. Free agency doesn't start until January, middle January, and we'll be prepared with a plan. We will have interviewed and talked to all of our players, and we'll know how they feel probably within the next 60 days or so. But everybody needs, when you have a season like this, I always find it amazing. Everybody wants to have exit interviews right away, and I think for some of your key players, they are better served to have exit interviews when you've had time to step away from it and have a maybe more calm perspective about the whole thing. Trying to make all your decisions the day after you get eliminated is a pretty tough, thing to do. Fun is a relative term, but I do enjoy the challenge. I mean, it's why I took this job in DC in the first place, because it couldn't have been any worse than when I came here. And so that was the challenge of doing that, and building it was fun. And I think there will be parts of it that'll be fun and some of it won't be. I think, there's going to be some calculated risks when you talk about salary cap balanced with injuries, older players. How many of those can you have on a team? We just had a discussion with one of our doctors that's a huge issue when you're trying to put together a team for the long haul. How many of those players have past injuries that could crop up and, be a factor? And, almost every key player in our team has that, one way or the other. I mean, Tina's had her issues, Ariel's had her issues, Natasha's had her issues. Luckily, they didn't result in, 3-month issues, but, we've had them all. And so that will be an interesting part of this whole thing, is into a better understanding of what kind of medical or injury risk we want to put with, all the other decisions about talent and chemistry and financial. I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts when we try to put this together. I don't know if it's complacency. I think part of it is a lot of different players. Everybody wants to keep talking about 2019, and yet the reality is that the only players on our team this year that had any connection to 2019, there were only 4 of them. I mean, Maisha, Natasha, well, 5, I guess, Elena, and Shatori when we brought her back. Nobody else was a part of that culture. And I think they've all come from different backgrounds. And I think that, and I say culture, it's not just day to day how you treat each other, it's style of play, it's the pace you do things. I think it's how you do your workouts. I think it's all of that. And I think there's been slippage. I don't know if it's from complacency or unfamiliarity too. I've always told myself, and I've talked to people who have gone through this, friends, when I don't want to get up and go to the office or coach my team in practice, and it's more than a couple days in a row, then it's time. Ted Leonsis and I and Sheila Johnson and I have a kind of a working agreement that I can make that choice. And if I want to just be the GM, I can do that. But I want it to be at the right time. I don't know. I mean, I just know that I'll know. And there are days, part of it is this season, there are days you go, man, I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need this crap. But at the end of the day, I still wake up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning with thoughts about what we need to fix something or a new play or everything. So that tells me I'm still engaged mentally with it, that I haven't bagged it. So when those days go away, then I might be concerned. Wow, it's a little bit different. I mean, it always sucks. So I don't have a simple answer. In 2016, we didn't have that same hope right at the end of still getting in. We had to shut down a couple players, Latoya being one of them, actually. She was injured. Ivory Latta got injured. A couple other people were injured. We were bringing people in and out. Ironically, it was also an Olympic year. But we spent the whole time after the break just kind of beat up. And I don't know what her answer was. At that time, it was kind of an unknown for us. We knew we were going to be in the lottery. We got, fortunate enough to get the second pick, to use that to go as part of the deal to get Elena. And my feeling is missing the playoffs this time, while it's tough not to be in it, I can see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel if we're smart enough to make use of our resources and do the right evaluations. Whether the lottery pick becomes a young player in the draft or whether it becomes a trade chip like it was in 2016, that's to be determined, and I have no idea at this point. We have some decisions to make on some players. Back in 2016, we didn't know that the Elena thing was going to happen when we missed the playoffs. So nobody could have foretold what we were about to enter. This time, for me personally, we're say this the right way. We're trying to build ourselves with the ability to win a championship. The similarities is in neither in 2016 or this year had we made the playoffs. I don't think we're good enough to win a championship in either of the years. We would relish the opportunity this year to keep competing, go down and play Phoenix in a one-game playoff thing. You never know. But for the long term, the long haul, we're not the most talented team. And we were going to be shorthanded in every game we played in the playoffs. And I felt the same way in 2016 because of the injuries and the health of our team and not the talent level of those teams. we have an opportunity to get back into the elite group right now. And so that's going to be kind of the opportunity we try to take. I don't know that that did. I think that both of them, though, came in and did what we hoped for. That doesn't X things in one way or the other for next year. You know, we're going to have conversations with both of them about what our expectations are for them coming back. Obviously, Shatori is a restricted free agent, and Megan is our reserve player or I don't know whether she's reserve or restricted. I can't remember. But there's an opportunity for them to try to improve upon what they did coming in. I'm happy with what they did. But there's no guarantees for anybody right now. As far as, if you don't have a guaranteed contract, you got a lot to prove. So I just think that I'm happy we made those changes. I think it was the right thing to do. And I think that the two of them kind of validated that choice.
Well, definitely can't stop working out. Gotta go play overseas. But I do have to unplug just for a little bit. It's been a pretty tough year. Just with everything that we've honestly been dealing with in the world for the past 2 years. So just taking that time to kind of unwind a little bit, and give myself kind of that grace, honestly, to be like, hey, at the end of the day, this is where we are. You got to be where your feet are. This is what happened. And in about 2 or 3 days from now, I'll deep dive into it and figure out what it is that I need to get better at and what it is that I need to be working on. Yeah, but it is what it is. It's the nature of sports. Sometimes it goes your way and you do really well. Sometimes it goes your way and you just fell at the end. And sometimes it just doesn't go your way at all. It is what it is. It's not like we can change anything about it. I think, we all feel like we could have found a way to do better with the cards that we were dealt. But at the end of the day, again, it is what it is. This is where we are. This is what we're dealing with. And we have to move forward from here. Ooh, there's lots can be said right there. I think personally, it's helped me see where I am as a basketball player and as a leader, and see where I need to grow. I know there are some things that I do well, and then there are some things that I just haven't taken the time to deep dive into, and that I don't do well. And it's really forced me to see everything at face value for what it is. We didn't have any band-aids, any coverings, anything to cover up what we had going on this year. It was all out in the open. And I think that was good for me personally, because it allowed me to see how I thrive or don't thrive in situations where it's just really tough. Yeah, it feels good. Obviously, this has been my first home as a pro, and I love it here. I'm learning to love the city. I'm not a city person, but I'm learning to love it. And the fans and the people and the community that DC has surrounded us with, just pure love and fight. So I'm thankful that I was able to extend my contract, and also to be a part of an organization that believes in me and wants me to do well and wants to help me grow as a human and as a basketball player. So it's pretty cool, and I'm thankful to be here.
I mean, like you said, it wasn't the way it was initially supposed to be set up. But then obviously injuries were a big thing. I don't like to make excuses. So I think even with all the injuries and issues that we dealt with, I think we still underachieved for who we had on the court most of the time. And I guess that just goes to being inconsistent. And I think that's a big word for this team. As bad as it sounds, it's the truth. And we were just way too inconsistent.
I just piggyback on what she said. Like, we obviously this year, with just player availability and everything that happened, it was a difficult season to try to develop consistency. And within that, just within ourselves as a group and with injuries and stuff, different lineups, it was really hard to remain consistent in a lot of things. And the things that we could have done better that were in our control, we just also fell short on as well. So this was, not the season that we wanted. This isn't the season that we were looking forward to coming into personnel wise, and especially as the season went on. But yeah, this was very disappointing.
I mean, I think we were talking about it the other day, and what did we come up? I think there was 3 people who were available for every game throughout the season. Like, that's just crazy when you think about it, So like I said, as much as I don't like to make excuses, that is the reality of it, is that we had a lot of injuries this year. Yeah, I mean, obviously we had to be super resilient. With the injuries, we didn't know who was playing in what game. But not only that, also when we would show up every day, we didn't even know who was going to practice, because there were people playing in games that weren't practicing as well. So that makes it hard to improve and get better on your days off. And then normally you're allowed to have, male practice players come in, but because of COVID, that wasn't allowed until the last few weeks of the season. So it's hard to come up with practice plans and do certain things when you only have 5-6 people available. But so I think it took a lot of resilience out of all of us to just keep coming in every single day, no matter what the circumstances were, and working hard and just going with whoever we had. I know it's probably super frustrating for the coaches as well, Shalisa and the training staff. I don't think they've probably ever been so busy in their careers. So, we'd like to thank them as well. But, going forward, sometimes injuries happen just out of pure bad luck. Sometimes, possibly you could do a little more with your recovery or pre-training that could help prevent those injuries. So I think everyone is sort of looking at taking all aspects of that a little more serious, and making sure that we are doing everything we can before in order to prevent those injuries, hopefully.
It's definitely like a privilege to actually like be on a scouting report. I remember like in college, my coach would always like joke around like, "Oh yeah, you're not on the scouting report for this, or you're not on the," like jokingly saying it. So just to be on the scouting report, I guess it's a privilege. But for me personally, like this season was just so many highs and lows because of one injury with my knee. Like I've never ever had a serious injury before, and then to sit out so many games and just have to like just be patient and trust my body and trust the trainers and the doctors. So that was annoying. And then when I got sick, that was even more annoying because we were really trying to make a playoff push, and then I get sick, and then now I have to sit out and try to come. Like it was just, this season was so many highs and lows, but I'm just grateful that I was able to play in the last game and like finish it out, like, not have to be on the sideline watching the last game, so I'm grateful for that opportunity. Real close. I mean, this year I feel like if we keep talking about injuries, but that's just how our chips fell this year. But I felt like if we were able to stay healthy the whole season, then I mean we would be right up in there, the top 4 teams. We competed with all of the teams this year, close games. So for me, I think we're really close. We're not in the. I know Coach T was talking when we all had our meeting today with him of us not being a good like shooting team, 3-point shooting team, and defensive team. We weren't good at that. So I mean, those are some of the things we got to work on in the off season, just so we can get back up to Mystic basketball, what everyone knows and what we strive for. And I mean, that's a deep run in the playoffs. So yeah.